This is indeed not a very good one for us. Ndate Mlangeni was awarded the highest honor, the African National Congress, Isitalandwe Seaparangwe, for his unwavering commitment to the ideals that the ANC upheld to. He was convicted at the Rivonia trial in 1964 and spent over 2 decades at the Robben Island. He was indeed a great fountain of wisdom for our organization, a man of integrity. Up until his last day, Ndate Mlangeni served the Integrity Commission of the African National Congress, a body established to ensure that those of our cadre who serve the movement uphold the best acceptable ethos out in society. We are much more poorer without him. Just last month in June, he celebrated his 95th birthday. Almost all of the officials of the ANC had conveyed their tribute to him, wishing him long life. Little did we know that that was to mark his last birthday. There's a lot that we can learn from Ndate Mlangeni, a humble man who up until his last day had kept his house in Soweto. His foundation, named after him and his wife, June Mlangeni, had been doing quite a lot of things. Even during this COVID-19, he will be able to report to his generation that he was part of those that were in the trenches, helping us to fight against this deadly virus called corona. He had done quite a lot, giving out food parcels in communities and also conveying messages of hope to our own government and to our own President Cyril Ramaphosa.
Yeah,
the ANC is much more poorer without him.
A strong man with such a big personality passes on. What the only thing we can do really is look back at his life and celebrate him. He has contributed immensely in the fight against apartheid in this country, in the fight in making sure that we attain the economic freedom that he was still fighting for at his age. Very supportive, very selfless man. So we are very honored to have had a man like Ubaba Mlangeni in our lives, leading us and showing us the way, and all the sacrifices he has made for us as the people of South Africa. Even the young people, nobody who would say they do not know Ubaba Mlangeni, because he was always there for us, and he always had very words of wisdom that you would always look back and think that at his age now, he is still able to stand and lead us into the emancipation, economic emancipation of in South Africa.
Ndate Mlangeni was a humble person. He would always be ready to engage. One thing I always notice with this about Ndate Mlangeni and Madiba, they hardly pass any person without wanting to greet first or want to shake a hand. So that was Ndate Mlangeni, and his lifestyle didn't change because he was staying in Soweto, a humble home, and I thought maybe he had moved to the leafy suburbs like others. But when I went to see him a few weeks ago, I found that he lives amongst his own people in the area there. And in Parliament, he contributed a lot in the portfolio committees and in debates. And late, he was also vocal about the corruption which is taking place within the ruling party.
The Ahmed Kathrada Foundation and many others have also paid tribute to Ndate Mlangeni.
We wake up, the whole country wake up in shock, to hear the very sad news of the passing of Ifi Twala Andre, Comrade Mlangeni. As you will know, he ran his race, his contribution to the liberation of this country. We are deeply sad as we woke up this morning to hear about his passing. The ex-Robben Island Political Prisoners Association would like to send its deepest condolences to his family and comrades and also the family of political prisoners. I'm deeply shocked and saddened, that he departed so soon while we needed him. He invited me specifically in June to celebrate with him his birthday in Orlando, in Dubai, in his house. We shared a lot of, political sentiments, food. We discussed a lot of, his best wishes as far as Robben Island is concerned. As you will know, that he was anti-corruption. His anti-corruption stance, calling for the president to make intervention against corruption at Robben Island, calling for the report to be released at Robben Island, the corruption report. So he always, when we meet, he will ask me, when is the report is going to be released, the corruption report?
Two things. We would visit him very regularly, and I was struck at the modesty of his house in Soweto that he has lived in prior to going to prison and subsequent to coming out. And I think that for me is a remarkable thing about himself. He could easily have moved elsewhere. He could have probably lived a very different life. But for reasons best known to himself, and I suppose in line with his character, chose to remain in Soweto.
Yeah.
I think just his love for golf it was incredible.
Yeah.
And his ability to still play until I think about 2 or 3 years ago was the most remarkable thing. Lastly was his outspokenness on issues of corruption. I think he was very concerned about that, both privately with us, and I think he expressed the same thing publicly.
The president called him, a person who was a unique example of heroism, of humility, a person who had very strong values, who stood by those values. And, when you look back at his life, having spent most of his life, 27 years in jail, he was the last remaining Rivonia trialist that we had. He served also the democratic government as a member of parliament between 1994 and 1999, and he served again in 2009 to 2014. So it really has been immeasurable. We owe so much to the generation of Andrew Mlangeni for what they were willing to go through so that South Africa can live in freedom and democracy as we did today. Yeah. So as the president passes his condolences to the family, he's also calling upon all of us as South Africans to pick up the spear that has fallen, to take the baton forward and ensure that we continue to build a country that he and his generation will continue to be proud of.
A man of integrity has left us. There is a lot that people can learn from this icon. And the fact that he lived for 95 years with integrity, and his integrity was never shaken by his positions in politics and in society, and the hardships he experienced during the struggle and in prison, and the fact that he could not be with his family when it needed him most. He remained a man of integrity.
Last month, Mlangeni